60.ca. And now, from the Bell Lifestyle Studio, here's Mike.
It is 8:41, Newstalk Sauga 960, Raw, Mike Richards. And it is our time with York United. And for those of you who watch the videos later on today, you'll realize in the last 3 weeks that the background of the players seems awfully similar. That maybe that maybe these guys live in similar looking condos. Well, that's what I thought until talking to Noah last week, and we started to gossip about Nico, something he said on the show. And then you hear Nico in the background going, "That's not what I said. It's because it's like Three's Company." We're going to go to Dominick Zator because they're in the same place, Dominick. You guys are roommates.
Yeah, that's right. The three of us roommates. This second year now. Good times.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you get a short straw? Like, what's happening over there? What is going on here?
No, Nico's first. He's got a little bit more background with like doing these interviews and stuff. So he's set the bar high, and now Noah and I are just trying to compete with him.
Well, look, so you're Calgary born.
Yes.
Okay, so this is very close to my heart, having lived that 6.5 years in Calgary and coaching football at St. Mary's. What high school did you go to?
Bishop Carroll.
Bishop Carroll, going
the
down.
Top school in the city.
Well, I got to tell you, Dominick, there's nothing that I enjoyed more than living in that city. I tell people in the book I wrote a little while ago, I said, everybody at some point in their life should be allowed to live in Calgary for a couple of years to understand just what Canada really is all about and the different places that you can live in, because I was spoiled for 6.5 years. And there's many people who think that I probably shouldn't have left and come back to Toronto. But the reality is that it's a young city. It's got a great sports background. Amateur athletics is really embraced. The high school sports is tremendous. And the one thing that I coached as in football, but not soccer in the way that we talk about footy. So for you, what was that journey like playing soccer in Calgary? What? Because eventually I think you play for the Dinos, but what is the steps there?
Yeah, well, obviously you'll know that Calgary is one of the coldest places during the winter. Snow,
yes,
snow can drop any day. I think yesterday there was like 2 inches of snow, and today it's nice and sunny there. So you always have to expect unexpected in Calgary. But growing up, there was the winters are too cold, so you can't play outside. And unfortunately, we didn't have like the nice facilities indoor, like 11v11 size fields. So a lot of the times you're playing in like hockey rinks, playing a little 5-on-5 boarded soccer. So I mean that's what you do throughout the winter season, and the summer then hopefully get all your soccer in while the weather's nice. But that's kind of the process you have to go through growing up. And obviously there wasn't any pro level soccer really when I was growing up. And then the next step was really, okay, either go to university, continue playing soccer, or kind of hang up the boots right after high school. And obviously, if you're able to make a varsity team, that's ideal. I was fortunate enough to make the Dinos team, and it was great for me. Played, obviously, in Canada, you're allowed to play 5 years versus 4 in the States. So I didn't really know what my path was after the 4th year. The coach is like, hey, listen, do you want to play 1 more year? So I took a lower course load, which actually did make my life a lot easier. And then university, 5th year. And then after that, like soccer really started to progress in the city. There ended up becoming the Foothills facility, which became like one of the first 11v11 size fields in the city, which then actually really helped grow the game, I think, because then you're allowed to play year round. And then that's where the PDL started. And I think the growth through that eventually led into the CPL. So I was just catching the start of everything, which was good for my career.
Well, Dominick, it's the start of the ability of someone who would go to Bishop Carroll or would go to St. Francis or whatever school you want to talk about, to realize that in their backyard, or because I believe the stadium now is Cavalry's at Spruce Meadows. Is that where you are down in the south like that?
Yeah.
That you can now be a professional footballer in your own backyard. As you said, when that was, you generally would have to make the decision to, even, as you're considering university, but post-university, either you're being picked up by someplace internationally, or who knows around the world. It could be Denmark, it could be Israel. Like you really don't even know where that's going to be, or it's over. It's done.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's one of the nicest things about this league now, is that you can play in your hometown. And yeah, the first 2 years I played in Calgary with the Cavs, and that was great because it was right there where I grew up, and I had my whole family and stuff coming around to every game. So obviously my family and friends, and they keep traveling to all my games. So now here in Toronto, it's also great because now they're able to visit different cities. You think, because you're living in Canada, that's why I like the sport, and how there's so many teams that you can travel to each of the new locations, and maybe you never had the chance to really experience Toronto or Ottawa, Halifax even. And now going to each of these cities, you actually see what Canada has to offer.
And what people have to also understand is the more our own Canadian kids play with guys from Spain, from Holland, from, Germany. I mean, because you see these guys sometimes are on loan from, like Atletico Madrid or wherever it happens to be, where Canadians are now starting to understand what on loan means, right? Because for non-North American people, it's a weird, What do you mean? So someone from the Flames, they're given someone for the Leafs, they get to borrow their player for, like, it doesn't, it's hard for them to understand, but it only means that your play gets better because you learn from other countries, other styles of ball. The level of ball gets better because in my day, at least understanding soccer, which most people in North America didn't, I never would have seen an Alphonso Davies, because I think he's from Edmonton, right? He's an Edmontonian, isn't he?
Yeah,
Edmonton kid,
correct.
Playing for Bayern Munich. Like it's almost not conceivable. And yet that won't be the rarity coming up very shortly with the play in the CPL and what's going on. There's going to be more and more of that. It's going to continue. And eventually you will represent that first wave of players that starts getting picked up by big teams around the world. Yeah,
without a doubt. I mean, the game is definitely grown, and it's grown rapidly with the success of the men's and women's national team, bringing Canada onto the map. And yeah, a player like Alphonso Davies set that pathway for everyone, I think. And yeah, now the league is growing, and yes, we are getting these loaned players, which I mean is huge for everyone, because now you can compete against players who have grown up in proper professional soccer setups. And obviously we weren't fortunate enough to have those kind of setups prior to this, but now we're able to test ourselves against those kind of players and see where our limits can reach. And if you succeed here compared to those kind of players that are coming into the league, obviously you can move on from here and have a successful career.
Well, as I said, Dominick, there's almost no ceiling on this league, and where this is going to end up, who's to say? Who's to say how big it gets? Because there was a time, and I've said this often, that so I was working at the Fan in Calgary when they started TFC, right? So when they started Toronto FC, and people would say, you'd really like it. It's a small stadium at the time. It's like they put it together with hammer and nails, and when people started making noise, the things would sway back and forth. It was like being in a small, like, Division II stadium in England, but the people are really into it. And at that point, when it starts, and the way soccer was in this country, when they'd have like an exhibition game, a friendly in Toronto back at Varsity Stadium, if it was like Italy, England, Mexico, Greece, whatever it was, the stadium would be filled full of people from England and Greece and of that descent. There weren't really Canadians, and the second generation Canadian wasn't going. There was no connection between Canada and soccer. You had to be like the son of someone who was British. Well, those days are long gone. And as I said, watching that, as they call it, the Ice Teca at Commonwealth, watching the guys jump into the snow and looking at those Mexicanos who are like, I don't like this. No, I know you don't like this. And that I'm going, okay, there's the historic line in the sand, or in this case, in the snow, where Canada has arrived. And I'm thinking the rest of the world, especially in CONCACAF, is going, I do not want to play this team and I do not want to go there. But now they're going to have to deal with us. You talked about the weather in that's not going away. Canada's looking at it, the game in Hamilton. They're going to sit there and go, this is where you're going to have to play, and we love it.
100%. I mean, now you can see all the Canadians, you're embracing the fact that you are a Canadian. It's, that cultural thing before where you're trying to say, oh, no, I was an Italian immigrant and things like that. Now, I think when you come to Canada and you've been here for many years, you're really embracing that new Canadian culture. And I think, what they did at Commonwealth Stadium in the snow and stuff, how energetic and like lively that Canadian team is, especially playing in the weather as brutal as that was. I mean, it's just, they're a force to be reckoned with. And I mean, all credit to them, how they just absolutely dominated the CONCACAF and making their way to the World Cup. I mean, it's just super exciting for Canadian soccer.
And it does come from all over, like the country is. I mean, for instance, even in that one condo, you've got someone that's a Greek heritage, a Dutch heritage. What are you Polish? What is your background?
Yeah, Polish background.
Yeah, so you do see the influence of Europe, but in the generations now, you didn't necessarily have to play hockey or what. Although, did you dabble? Did you ever play hockey at all as a kid?
No, not really. My dad was really like, no, stick to soccer. We're not doing that kind of stuff. And also, as an immigrant, he's thinking, do you know how much pads cost? No, you stick to playing soccer. It's easier.
Very true. Well, look, you got great roommates. You got a great team, and like we love having you guys on there. And what I find is interesting on this particular tiny station that just started a couple of years ago. It's of interest to me because I'm Irish, so I like to fight everybody. So in doing this, it's kind of fun that we have the CPL on one side in York United. We also talk to those in the CEBL. So at the same time, the Professional Basketball League and the Professional Soccer League, that's full on a Canadian professional league. They're both going at the same time. And as I tell people, they're both the most popular sports in the world. It's not hockey. It's basketball and it is soccer. And both of these things seem to be coming up at the same time. We also have junior hockey. We have the Mississauga Steelheads. We're able to talk to the players on these teams, guys like yourself. And there's a real enthusiasm for what you do. It is a wonderful thing to be able to expose and bring forth what it is that makes a league grow. And that's what you have in York United. When that was announced the other day with Woodbine, that you're going to have your own stadium. And of course, where York region is, you're sort of, Woodbine's just really sort of on the border. People from Vaughan, from Woodbridge, from Stouffville, from Markham, from Newmarket, they actually now don't have that big a drive anymore, and that stadium will be yours. How exciting is that? That's unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly. It is unbelievable. And I think that's what will help the league and the team grow, especially when the fans also know, like, that's going to be their home as well. That's where they will go and support their team. It's going to be theirs. So I think with having a nice new stadium, it's always exciting. And yeah, honestly, I think it's a phenomenal thing for the club and even for the league.
Well, it will only get better. And as I've talked to your teammates and certainly talking to Owen O'Callaghan over the last year or so, it'll be great to get rid of the draws. And I have a huge dislike for Ottawa for some reason. I look at Atletico and I see those stripes. I'm like, God, I hate these guys. And of course, the years I've lived in Calgary, I can't stand Edmonton. I don't care what Edmonton does. I don't care what team. I don't care what sport it is. They go, hey, there's a new bowling league. Really? Because I hate the team from Edmonton. It's just how it is. So look, thanks so much for joining the show. You and your roommates and the rest of your teammates. I just think the world of you guys. You're going to have a real good year. That I can feel. And you can feel even tactically, it's different than last year. There are some adjustments and you can see it, and it's paying off early. And I look forward to it because I think it's going to have actual fans in the stands, which is nice to have. And yeah, I'm sure you're looking forward to that. Have your parents been out much to see you this way so far?
Last year they came twice. This year they haven't been able to make the trip out yet. My mom actually broke her leg a couple of weeks back, so now she's just kind of recovering from that. So then hopefully once she's back fit, then they'll make the trip over.
That's a very soccer way of once my mom is fit.
Yeah.
Very soccer, very footy of you. Hey, thanks so much, Dominick. Appreciate the time. I'm sure we'll talk to you again real soon, and great having you on the show here this morning.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much.
That's Dominick Zator joining us here from York United. They're off and running. It was great to see the victory last week. And as I said, they're great dudes. They're just great guys.